welcome to Why I Love Warhammer, the series where I go into an unscripted ramble about why I love something in this hobby. And on this episode, just going to do it's probably going to be quite a short episode, and this is how to get into collecting and painting and playing Space Marines in 40k. This is, I'm trying to make this to be kind of safe from any updates. I'm not focusing on anything to do with the metagame and the tournament scene because that can change in a heartbeat with a points change or a new codex. So this is going to be super generic to make generic Space Marines. Because the thing is that Space Marines are popular. Space Marines are popular for a reason. They're really good. They are brilliant characters. They are phenomenal starting points for the 40k game, and they deserve a lot of respect. So I wanted to do a bit of a guide how to get into collecting them, because the main take I'm going to tell you is, unless you are particularly enamored with a specific Legion exclusive named character, don't go for a named faction. Unless you're a particular fan of Reboot Guilliman or Marnius Calgar, Cato Sicarius, don't go for Ultramarines. Unless you're a huge fan of the named character for the Imperial Fists, don't pick Imperial Fists. Unless you're a huge fan of Logan Grimnar, Björn, the Fenrisian Wolves, don't go Space Wolves, because Space Wolves have a lot more unique characters to them, unique sculpts. But if you're a bit torn between various Space Marine factions, or you're not so enamored by a named character, if you don't really care about Lionel Johnson's model, if you don't really care about Tushan, what you should do, in my view, is make your list, create your army to be as generic as possible. Generic troop choices, a generic captain, generic lieutenants, generic chaplains, generic apothecary, healer dudes. Get your generic vehicles, like your rhinos, your vindicators, your land raiders, your predators. Just go for the most generic army you can. Then, and again, this only works for regular loyalist Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines are too unique, too spiky. Xenos, this doesn't really work for. It only works for classic Space Marines. Just get the generics. And then what you're going to do is get a list of all the colour schemes for your main first founding legions. You get your primary 9 plus Black Templars. And what you're going to do is look through those colour schemes of those primary ones and just say, no thank you. Because what you want to do is you want to create an army which isn't going to be misleading, right? If you paint your army of Space Marines bright red, people are going to look at it and they're going to say, I'm playing as Blood Angels. I know what's happening here. If you turn around and say, no, these aren't Blood Angels. These are these are not the Crimson Fists, because they are a different colour scheme entirely. Yeah, but no, these are a successor chapter of the Iron Hands, because Iron Hands are meta at that moment. Then it's misleading. Your opponent's going to say, no, you're just telling me, you're lying to me about what you own so you can have a metagame advantage. Don't lie to your opponents. You're both there for a good time. Don't be deliberately deceptive. Paint them rainbow. Paint them bright pink. Paint them zebra striped. Paint them to look like a representation of the Doppler effect. Paint them pick 3 random colours. Make all their guns gold and make their helmets, yeah, like make their helmets purple, but the rest of their armor make it like just grey. Just go nuts with your color scheme. Paint them however you like, as long as it isn't one of the main 9. If it's not one of the main 9, just go crazy with it. Because then you can play them as a successor chapter of whatever you like. And it's not misleading, as long as you're there with your list in advance to say, here is my list, here are my characters, this is what they do, these are the weapons. If you play that in a consistent way, you're not changing up your war gear mid-battle, you're not cheating, nothing like that, then it's not going to be misleading to play them as whatever you want them to be. What that also means is if you're in a position where actually there's like an Iron Hands thing that's particularly useful, or a Dark Angels rule that you think would be, that's like in right now, well, your pink, purple, red and orange stripy, spotty Space Marines, they can be successors. A successor chapter of whatever is meta right now. It also means that if you just want to give it a go with another Space Marine faction, if you have your Black Templar successor, for the sake of argument, that you've been playing as Black Templars, but you're thinking, oh, I kind of want to give Ultramarines a go. You don't need to buy any more models for that. You can just pick up your insanely colourful army for a game, say, these are an Ultramarine successor chapter, and then play with them using Ultramarine rules. It saves you money, saves you time, and it means you can play a fully game-legal army in a way that's kind of like proxying, in a way that suggests that you're... in a way that means you're not putting down additional money and spending more time trying out a rule set for an army that you might not get on with. As much as it's easy to lump Space Marines in together as one thing, there are fundamental differences in gameplay between different Space Marine factions. So you really want to go... you want to be sure about playing an army. And if you want to have 2 Space Marine armies at some point, knock yourself out. I've got 15 armies in the cabinet behind the green screen. Like, I'm not going to knock you for having a second army, but it's worth giving that second army a trial run. So yeah, that's the short version. Yeah, so to kind of summarize the short version of this video, best way to play Space Marines: get the most generic list you possibly can and paint them up to be wacky, random and different. Then just claim they are whatever, they're a successor chapter of whatever first founding legion you want them to be at that time on the day. With that, I'll end the video. I hope you're having a really good day. If you want to like and subscribe on this, that'd be really appreciate. I'd really appreciate that. Got Patreon in the description. If you want to share this with any friends, I'd really appreciate that as well. Comment question of the day: what advice would you give to someone who is trying to get into an army like Space Marines or any other faction? What advice would you give them? With that, I hope you have a really good day, and I will see you next time.